So we're hopefully nearing the end of the healing process for this fractured hand, but we aren't there yet. So get ready for some more left-handed action shots. Probably at least one more week of those coming next week too. We just got to get through it. But if this is your first time checking us out, feel free to drop a follow or subscribe wherever you're watching and give this video a like. We would greatly appreciate that. So starting off with the box and the price, this is going to be another one of those boxes where we can just kind of gloss over this section. You're going to get Under Armour's basic black box with their logo kind of stamped on top. But as for pricing, these did keep the same $120 retail price from the first release, making these not necessarily a budget-friendly option, but kind of ranging on that side, so not bad at all. So now looking at more of the appearance, like I just said, I mean, this is the second shoe to release in this Under Armour Future X line. I'm not actually sure how many they plan on doing in total, because I didn't even know there was going to be a second shoe whenever I did my review on the ones last year. But the biggest change did come from Under Armour taking away the strap. They ran over the midfoot on the ones, and anyone who watches my videos knows that I do always prefer shoes that have those straps. Like, even if it's more so just for the look, I just like it. And the strap actually was really cool on last year's model. Like, one colorway I used had like an iridescent strap. The white pair that I had back here has like, some nice gold touches on there. And I mean, aside from like the functional purpose that it has, I just think it adds some nice character to the shoe. I was a little bit sad to see that go, but I mean, these definitely aren't bad either. Like, you have a clear material break from the front to the back of the shoe, and I will get into that more in a second, but the waves in the back half of the shoe are pretty clean. Then you have a big Under Armour logo on the inside and on the outside of the upper, kind of around that like ankle region. And then on the tongue, you're going to see some more branding marking out the model name with that Future X2 text. And I was honestly a little bit surprised at the lack of similarities between these first two models, at least from like just the optics. Like, if you put them side by side, you wouldn't even probably know that they're from the same line. And I actually like that, because a lot of shoes, sometimes they do tend to play off of each other, just maybe won't change that much. And that's like not a bad thing, I guess, as long as the shoe isn't like atrocious or anything like that. But I mean, definitely a whole new look for this year's model. Now let's go ahead and see how they hold up on it. So now checking out the materials and the performance side, and starting off with the cushioning, we're going to start to see some more of like the same things going on from the first shoe to the Future X2s that we have here, now that we're getting more into the actual tech specs of the shoe. So these are going to get Under Armour's UA Flow cushioning technology that is meant to be super light and bouncy. That is going to be the same setup that was used in last year's model. And I do remember that whenever I was doing my first impressions on these, like, I felt like the Future X2s might be a little bit softer than I remember the ones being, but after playing in them both again, and even just having one shoe on each foot, I might have been wrong. Like, these feel pretty much the exact same. I mean, I'm not really surprised. Like, it is pretty much the same exact materials being used and the same cushioning setup. I know that Under Armour does call these bouncy. It's maybe not the word that I would use. Like, this isn't going to be an overly soft model. Like, it definitely leans more on the side of being responsive, but they are pretty stiff in the beginning, but they do loosen up a little bit more, just the more that you play in them. But it's just not a ton of impact protection from what I've noticed. And I was noticing that in my first impressions video, like, whenever I was hooping outdoors, you just don't get a whole lot of impact protection or just like cushion whenever you're coming down from a jump. You kind of hit the pavement a little bit harder than I would like, but sometimes that can be because of the price. But I mean, the Curry 8s and the 9s, they do have the same flow foam setup, and on the Curry 8s, I mean, those were like really soft. I loved that model for comfort, but the Curry 9s, they almost feel closer to this Future X line than they do the Curry 8s. So it's just kind of interesting to see how the same materials can sometimes play and feel different from model to model. But I mean, yeah, I wouldn't expect like a pillowy feel from this Future X2 design. They are gonna, I mean, they did stay pretty much right where the original release was at last year, which is going to be on that more responsive side. So now looking at the materials and the support, the materials is a spot where you're going to get some similarities and some differences between this year and last year's model. So both do have a mesh upper that allows for really nice airflow, and you do get the same material break where you kind of have holes in the front half, then it's going to be more filled in around the ankle area. But the Future X2 has a little bit more of a netting feel to that toe box area. But this Future X, I mean, both of these Future X models were some of the lightest shoes that I've ever played in, but the Future X2 here weighs only 358 grams for a size 10.5. That's even lighter than last year's model, and this is like just one of those shoes you can feel whenever you have them in your hand and on the court just playing in them, how light this model is. And using a mesh upper and then like having foam in the midsole, or I guess in the outsole and in the midsole, helps cut out a lot of weight. I am a big fan of that. And as always, whenever you have shoes this light and thin, usually you need a little extra help just for reinforcement to make sure that the support doesn't lack, and these get that in the form of a midfoot band. You did hear me talk about how these lost the strap that ran over the lacing system, but I mean, maybe lost wasn't the right word, because if you look at the blue lace loops kind of attached into that lacing system, attached to that is what Under Armour calls a midfoot webbing system. And that helps keep your foot from just like sliding around. And lacing these shoes up tight helps keep your foot just really secure within the model. So I guess instead of making it visible on top of the shoe, it is going to be more covered up, but I mean, you can still see it, like that blue strap on the inner and the outer side, on the inner and outside of the upper. So that does help you kind of get a sense of what the shoe is doing specifically to help with the lateral containment. And I haven't struggled with the support at all. So for a shoe as light as this is, the materials and the support are up to par, which is great. To finish off with traction, this is another spot where these pretty much copied the previous shoe. I've hinted at it a few times, but it is marked out on the midsole that these get a durable UA flow outsole meant to provide better court feel so you can cut, stop, and start faster than ever before. And the durable part is Under Armour's words, not mine. I probably wouldn't describe the outsole that way. I mean, the foam is a little bit softer than rubber, and I definitely noticed that testing them outdoors, and the cushioning was pretty average to maybe below average, so not really the best outdoor shoe to hoop in here. But whenever we're talking about indoors, these are second to none whenever it comes to grip. Like, they have the exact same kind of like random pattern from the FUTR X1s. It is broken up a little bit differently, but it feels and plays the same, which is in a category of amazing. So I mean, for the squeak test, I mean, this is foam here, so we're like, even with me trying to get them to sing, they didn't really make a whole lot of noise. But like I always say, that doesn't guarantee the traction won't play well, because the traction absolutely bites the floor on this model. I mean, I would say that's easily going to be the highlight of the FUTR X2s in my opinion. But to finish off with sizing, this is a pretty standard like true to size fit. The width is normal. I mean, maybe more on the narrow side than wide side though, and there's not quite as much room left over in the toes for the length, probably a little bit less than the thumb's width. Honestly, I like it that way, but if you prefer more room to like kind of move around in whenever you're playing, I'd maybe look into going a half size up. But overall, there are some things to like about this Under Armour FUTR X2 model, and it is mainly the same things to like from the original release. For $120, you get a super light shoe with killer traction, and the support checks out once again. I would expect a little bit more responsive cushioning, so not really an outdoor model, but I am a fan. Thank you guys for taking some time to watch. If you're interested in buying these shoes and you want to support our channel, just click the link here on screen. We have links down below or in our bio, so feel free to check that out. But until next time, I'm Landon from Shoewear. Peace.